Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Good.
Good, Dalila. I'm glad to have you join me today, and I welcome the other ones too, Joanna, and I'm not sure if is that Maria?
Yes, it's Maria Sanchez. Yes, I'm
Maria,
here.
great. Well, welcome. My name is Courtney. Some of you guys know me, but some of you don't know me yet. And I passed the LOTE many years ago, and I've been helping people pass ever since. Love doing what I do. It's a challenging test, but it's not impossible with the right preparation. So let's look at this. I want to show you some information before we get started on the actual tutoring. So if you Google EPP passing rates 2023, gonna go to Google. It should be Google. I don't know why Yahoo's coming up. Um, EPP stands for Educator Preparation Program, which is like your ACP, your certification program, or your university program if you're going through a university. And they give data to the state on how many people in their program pass the test. And the state compiles that data. So if we click on this, you can see this is Texas Educator Certification Exam Program pass rate. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. One second. Um, Texas Educator Certification Exam Program pass rate report down by subtest and EPP first attempt. So this is everybody's first attempt. And then we need to scroll down and look at LOTE Spanish 613 right here. And you can see the pass rate for 2022-2023 was 51%. So 49% of the people that took it the first time did not pass, 51% did. That still sounds bad, but it's actually a lot better than it was the year before when it was only 40%, right? I think people are preparing better and that's why they're having better success. So we can see a big jump because they have not changed the test. So a couple years ago, they did change the test, but you can see a couple years ago, the data didn't really change much. It was always around the low 40s. And then we had a big increase to 51. So that's good news, but the bad news is still about half the people that take it don't pass. And most of the people that email me and call me, Spanish is their first language and they speak it well, right? So it's not really that if you know Spanish, you're going to pass this test. It doesn't work that way, right? Lots of people know Spanish and fail this test, whether it's their first language or their second language, because a lot of the test has nothing to do with Spanish. And then the part that does have to do with Spanish, about 2/3 is Spanish, and 1/3 is pedagogy, instruction, and assessment, which is all in English. But even the Spanish part is hard because you have to do it in a certain way. So all of the speaking tasks have to be done just the way they want them done, with the timing right and the objective right. And same thing for the writing. And you have to know where the accent marks go. So that's why I work on all of those things in my course in tutoring. We work on everything: reading, writing, listening, speaking, pedagogy, the lesson plan. And tonight I thought we would do the lesson plan because I consistently hear from people that they want help with the lesson plan. Um, but before we start on that, since we have some people that don't know me yet, I want to show you. Maybe you've already looked at this, but maybe you haven't. If you Google Texas NESINC manual, this is the free preparation manual the state puts out. It's a great starting point. I wouldn't call it a preparation manual like they call it, but it's a good starting point. So if you click on prepare, scroll down and click on LOTE Spanish 613 and go, we can see an overview and exam framework. And you can see that, like I was saying, the biggest part of the test, instruction and assessment, 34.6%, a little over a third of the test is all in English. This is those 45 multiple choice questions that are in English on pedagogy, and the lesson plan in English, and the essay in English. Then you have cultural understanding, 8%. Those are mixed in with the reading and listening, but they're counted separately. And that's 8%. That's in Spanish. Listening and reading is in Spanish. That's each 16.7%. Writing and speaking are each 12%, and that's in Spanish. So for writing, there's 3 tasks, and for speaking, oral expression, there's 3 tasks. Really, the whole test is hard, honestly, but the listening and reading are what most people do the best in. So that's why in my course in tutoring, we do practice everything, but we spend less time on listening and reading because people need less help on it. And I want to help you in the way that's going to give you the biggest return on your investment and what you need the most help on. And then we don't spend much time on cultural understanding, but we address it when we do listening and reading, just like they do on the test, right? So let's look at, if we look at the free manual, it will show you a lesson plan prompt and an essay prompt in English. So tonight we'll look at the lesson plan and see what they say about it. Okay. So this is what it tells us you have to include. They're going to give you some information, but you're going to have to write out the vocabulary, the materials you'll use, descriptions of the procedures and activities you'll use, and the type of assessment that you'll use, right? So that's your job to fill that out. So this is what they'll give you. They'll tell you the school grade, third year high school, for example. They'll tell you the student profile, 15 to 17 years of age. They'll also tell you the proficiency level, intermediate range, and the actual guidelines. This is something you might not know about, but you have to know about to do well on the test because it comes up on the multiple choice questions. And also you have to make it appropriate for your lesson plan. So that's something I teach in my course in tutoring. But the basics is, this is not enough to know to pass the test, but in a nutshell, at the novice level, they need to know words and phrases. At the intermediate level, they know sentences. And at the advanced level, they know paragraphs, right? So if you get an intermediate level lesson plan and you just have them writing in isolated words and phrases, you're going to lose points because you need to challenge them and they need to be writing at the sentence level. But if you were to have them writing an essay, that would also be inappropriate because that's an advanced level skill, right? So you have to know the levels, and that's why I teach that. So they give you the grade, the profile, the proficiency level, the topic, a popular legend from the target culture. They also give the objective. Most people pay attention to the theme and topic and kind of ignore the objective, and that's a big mistake because everything you do, the vocabulary, materials, procedures, and assessment need to tie directly to the objective. Otherwise, you might be off topic and lose a lot of points. Students will discuss in the target language their readings of the legend and share their personal reactions to the characters and events depicted in the text. Right? Length of unit 3, class periods of 50 minutes each. Then you fill out this part, vocabulary, write it in English and Spanish, fill out the materials in English, the procedures, activities in English, and the assessment in English. Right? And then they show you a prompt for the essay, but we're not going to do that tonight. Now let's look at how they grade it so we can see how to get a perfect score because most people that email me their scores are getting 0 on their lesson plan. And then the next most common score is 4, which means they got a 2. So if you get a 6, it's because 2 people grade it. So they both give you a 3, you get a 6. If you get a 4, they both gave you a 2, right? And of course a 0 would be 0. Hardly anybody gets a 2. I don't see very many 2s. So let's look at how we would get a 6, which would be if they both score you at 3. You need to show a high degree of competence in response to the assignment, but may have a few minor errors. Fully address and fully elaborate all categories, vocabulary, materials, procedures, and assessment. Show a high degree of content understanding and all or almost all content information is accurate and well developed. All teaching techniques described are appropriate for age, grade, and proficiency level. Remember, I said you'll lose points if you don't do that. All materials and activities discussed are appropriate for age, grade, and proficiency level. Assessment instrument described elicits appropriate information on targeted learning objective. Everything relates back to that objective. Response is well organized and generally coherent. So you could get a novice lesson plan on your test, intermediate, or advanced. The one I hear most people talking about is getting advanced. But that might be because that's what's hardest for people, so they report that to me more. But I do hear about people getting novice lesson plans. Don't hear so much about intermediate, but again, I'm just relying on what people tell me, not all of the options out there. So it's important to prepare for novice, intermediate, and advanced because you don't know what you're going to get. And also, the state comes out with new versions of the test. So even if you took it before, you might not get the same one because they do have multiple versions and they release new ones. And I usually know when there's a new one out because people email me asking me, what's the difference between big C and little c, right? And that never came up before. So I know it's a new test question, right? So I don't ever divulge test questions that people share. But general concepts, absolutely, we go over those concepts of what people ask me about because I know that that's going to be on the test. So tonight I thought we'd do an advanced lesson plan because I want to pick one that would be hard for you that you might see on the test. So if you get an advanced lesson plan, it's probably going to be on literature. So it might be on a short story in Spanish. It might be on a poem or a play. So that means you need to know a short story, a poem, and a play in Spanish, right? Which most of us don't know that, right? I happen to know those things because I studied Spanish for both my bachelor's and my master's degree. So I read a ton of both peninsular, like Spanish literature, and Latin American literature, right? So I can name poems and I can name plays and short stories and things like that and authors. But I realize my background is different than most other people's background. They have expertise in another area, right? So that's why we've got to get good at this. So tonight we'll look at one that's on a play, but you also need to do your homework and look up a short story in Spanish and a poem, right? Now, the good thing is if you do my course in tutoring, which we meet on Wednesday nights, I have examples of all of those. And we go over the different ones that you'll encounter. But tonight we'll look at a free one and you'll kind of learn how to do it. And then you can do it yourself. So again, this is what they give you. School grade, 5th year, student profile, 16 to 18 years, proficiency level, advanced low to advanced mid, topic, drama, objective. Students will use interpersonal communication and writing to show their understanding of a play. Interpersonal communication means they're having a conversation. It's the only form of communication that's two-way. So both people need to be talking, at least 2 people, or 3 or 4. Right? And they have to use writing. So if you write a lesson plan about a play, but they don't use interpersonal communication and writing, you'll still get a 0, right? Doing the topic is not enough. You have to hit the objective. The topic won't get you anywhere. It's all about the objective. The length is 3 classes of 50 minutes each. So when I write my lesson plans, I always break it down by day. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Right? So materials, Freyer models, video, copies of La Casa de Bernarda Alba. That's a great play. If you haven't read it, it's something you could read maybe in a couple of nights. If you're really ambitious, you could read it in one night. And it's free online. If you Google La Casa de Bernarda Alba, it's free on the Cervantes website, right? Because it's so old that it's no longer protected by copyright, right? So it's open source. Freyer models are graphic organizers to teach vocabulary words. So you can Google that and see examples of Freyer models. So now we need our vocabulary words. But before we do that, I'll tell you a little bit about La Casa de Bernarda Alba in case you haven't read it. That way maybe these words will make sense, right? So La Casa de Bernarda Alba is set in Spain and it's by Federico Garcia Lorca, right? And it's about a mother and her 5 daughters. And at the beginning of the play, they're all dressed in black and mourning. And what happened is Bernarda Alba's second husband just died, leaving her a widow, and all of her kids, 4 of her kids lost their dad. The first kid was from her first husband, who also died, right? So the first kid is Angustias, and she's the oldest, she's 39, and she has money because her dad left her money. But the other 4 daughters are from the second husband. They don't have money, right? But Bernarda Alba likes to pretend like she has money, and she thinks that her daughters are too good for almost anybody in town. So she doesn't allow them to date, even though the oldest is 39, right? They have never had a boyfriend. There's only one person that she finds suitable for her daughters, and that's Pepe el Romano. So he starts dating Angustias, the oldest, who has money, and he's seeing her for her money. But he's secretly seeing the youngest, Adela, who's very beautiful, and they fall in love, right? So they're secretly seeing each other, and then he's publicly seeing the oldest, right? As the play goes on, the oldest, Angustias, finds out about the affair. And the two sisters start shouting and arguing. Have you guys ever been to a house in Mexico that has walls around it? And they have like a patio on the inside? They do that in Mexico sometimes. So instead of a fence, they have walls around it, right? Or maybe you've been to Spain, and in Spain they do that too. So that's how it's set up, right? So they're in their patio, which is walled in. So they have privacy, but everybody can still hear, right? They're shouting at each other because of what's going on, right? Arguing about their boyfriend. The mom comes out starts to stop the argument. Not because she really cares that they're arguing, but because she's worried about the neighbors hearing, right? So she breaks up the fight. Pepe of Romano is there and he leaves on his horse through the gate. And she chases him out with her gun and shoots at him, but she misses. But when she comes back in, because remember it's walled, they can't see. When she comes back in, she tells her daughter that she killed him, right? And the youngest, who's madly in love with him, the oldest was with him just because that was what was available to her, but not because she was madly in love with him. But the youngest was madly in love with him. She kills herself. She hangs herself because she's so distraught that she thinks he's dead, right? So she hangs herself, and when they find her body hanging, Bernarda Alba comes out, and all she says, because remember, all she worries about is appearances and what other people think about her. She says, "My daughter died a virgin, dress her in white." Because that's what she wants the neighbors to think, right? And all the people to think. So there's a lot of societal norms that are challenged, right? And religious undertones that are challenged in that play. And, but anyways, that's the background. You don't have to write a lesson plan about all the plot details, but just so you have some context and it's interesting. So you can see why I chose these vocabulary words: envidia, pasión, suicidio, vergüenza, herencia, obsesión. So notice I have several words, not just 3 or 4, right? And I wrote the words in Spanish and English. They tell us to write the lesson plan in English, but the vocabulary words you want to write in both languages. Now we need activities. Now remember, our activities have to match the objective. So the activities need to have them using interpersonal communication and writing to show that they understand the play. That's our goal, right? Day 1, the teacher will pre-teach vocabulary and students will fill out prayer models. You always want to address how you're going to teach vocabulary. That's important. They will read the first half of the play. Then in small groups, they will discuss what they understood about the play and write a paragraph reflecting about it. So I've already hit my objective on day 1, right? But only the first half of the play because it's too long to read in one class period. Day 2, the teacher will review the vocabulary words. They will read the second half of the play out loud. Then in small groups, they will ask each other questions to check their understanding and write a summary of the second half of the play. So again, they're talking about it and they're writing. All right, so we hit the objective again. Day 3, they will watch a film of the play. There is one available if you Google it. It's not on YouTube, or at least not the one that I saw was not on YouTube, but it was available on a free website. And it was really good. So they'll watch a film of the play, then they will discuss it as a class and write a reflection comparing the play to the film. So again, they're discussing and writing. So see how I hit the objective? Even if you don't do it on the first day, maybe the first day you're getting them ready, preparing them. You need to do it on the next 2 days, right? But here I was able to do it all 3 days. Assessment. They only tell you have to have 1 assessment, but I think it's really good to include at least 2 assessments because it shows that you really know your pedagogy, that you use both an informal and a formal assessment when you test students, right? The informal assessment is when the teacher circulates listening to the small group discussion on day 1. The formal assessment is the reflection written on day 3. So see how it's pretty short, right? It's just a little over a page because they only give you 35 minutes to write both the lesson plan and the essay in English. So it's really quick, right? So it's not supposed to be super long, but it can be challenging if you're not well versed in literature, right? So for homework, I really recommend you write your own lesson plan about a play. You can use this play and change the objective maybe. Maybe your objective says they present about a play because I don't know, even if you get a lesson plan on drama, which you might, I don't know what your objective will be. So you can't use my exact same lesson plan and get a 6, right? You have to change the activities to match your objective. And then you need to make sure you know how to do one for a poem and for a short story. So I get people ready for all of those in my Wednesday night group. And it's fun. I really like it. People participate and interact. And we practice all domains. We don't just do the lesson plan or just the pedagogy. We do everything: reading, writing, listening, speaking, pedagogy, the lesson plan. And I rotate through 4 different topics because I combine things. Like one night we do speaking and the lesson plan. One night we do reading and writing. One night we do pedagogy. One night we do writing. And I teach the accent marks, right? So for most people, I recommend 2 months of preparation because it takes time to get better at your writing and your speaking and to really learn this pedagogy, right? So it takes longer for most people than 1 month. I used to say 1 month, but I noticed some people weren't ready in 1 month, but almost everybody's ready in 2 months. So I recommend 2 months of preparation. Some people need more if they're coming to me with a more intermediate level of Spanish. Then it takes months or even years, right? But if you're at an advanced level of Spanish, C1 or C2, then 2 months should probably be enough. So anybody have any questions or comments or anything? No, you guys are really quiet. Well, tonight I will email the recording if I get a chance. If definitely I'll do it tomorrow if I don't have a chance tonight. I have some other tutoring tonight. But in case you want to enroll in my course in tutoring, we meet Wednesday nights. So we'll be meeting tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Central, but we meet for a whole hour. So it's a lot longer than the free sessions that are just like 25 minutes. And tomorrow we're doing reading and listening. I combine those because most people just need a little bit of help in that. So we don't spend a whole hour on each of those like we do a whole hour for pedagogy, a whole hour for writing. So that's how that works. And got a lot of success stories on Facebook you can check out from people that passed, also from passing the PPR and from different tests, not just the LOTE. But the LOTE is the one that I'm best known for. That's the one that I've helped the most people with. And mostly because of the pedagogy. That's what makes the biggest difference is I've really got that down and I know exactly what to teach you for pedagogy. But I'll email out this recording and yeah, so the pedagogy will be not this Wednesday, but the next Wednesday. So you could sign up because I know you've already done most of my tutor, like you've done a lot before. So if you wanted to sign up for just 1 week, you could just do 1 week and then cancel. But for most people, they need 2 months. But Dalila's already been working hard and done some other tutoring with me before previously. So she's kind of a pro by now. But I hope you guys have a great night. Is there anything else I can help y'all with? No? Y'all are so quiet. I don't hear a peep out of y'all. Not even Dalila. She always talks. What's up?
Hey, no, like I say, I'm gonna try to do it again, my practice test,
Yes.
and then as soon as they give me the green light, so I can go back and kind of redo it, like I refresh everything. And because they send me a new videos that I need to watch, so that's what I've been doing. And I've been preparing my student for the national Spanish test again.
Yes.
So I'll let you know it's gonna be March 9, 18 and 19, that test. And as
Wow.
soon as I know the results, I'm gonna share with you.
Yes, I can't wait to hear. I know they're going to do well. But I'm excited for you guys. And I hope I didn't scare you with all the statistics, the doom and gloom, because a lot of people do pass, especially with the right preparation, right? So it's not to scare you, but just so I've heard from so many people that say, I didn't study for this test because Spanish is my first language, and then they fail, right? And I could have saved them a lot of problems if I just tell them it's not only about knowing Spanish, it's about knowing how to speak it for the test and how to write it for the test, how to write a lesson plan, how to answer these pedagogy questions. It's way more than just knowing Spanish. If it was just knowing Spanish, the Lila would have passed it a long time ago because her Spanish is great. But the pedagogy is what's hard for her. So she needs to pass a practice test and get permission. Unfortunately, that practice test is not even that similar to the real test, but her program makes her do it. So it's not even getting her ready. And that's the problem with some of these programs is they sometimes require you to do study material that is not aligned to the test. And it wastes your time and often wastes your money. And that's frustrating. But the good thing about my stuff is I only do stuff for Texas exams and I take the test, right? So my stuff is super similar because I'm not writing stuff for California, Florida, New York. I'm only doing Texas and I take the test. So it's a time saver. But I hope you guys have a great night. And then I'm sure I'll see some of y'all soon.
Hey, Courtney,
Yes.
the lady from WT, they never contact you?
No,
They
they
never
didn't.
call?
And I'm so sorry. You gave me their number too, didn't you? I think you gave me their number and I told you I would reach out, right?
I'm gonna see her on Friday because we have a meeting for the I think it is PTLA. It's for Panhandle Teacher Language Association. We're gonna have a conference on Friday on WT. I will start with the lady again, and I'm gonna see if she really gonna contact you.
Yeah, that'd be great because I
From
could put together a program
yes,
for them or they could pay for you to do this because some districts will pay for their teachers to do my course in tutoring. If you already have a job teaching, a few districts have done that. So you have to ask for it, right? But it can save you money and you have to be patient because at least in my experience, nothing happens fast when school districts are paying. It can take weeks, right? But they will pay. And it seems like the smaller the district, the faster it is. So if you have a small district where you know people, they're going to try to help you. But the bigger districts, it's not that they don't want to help you, it's that they have all these policies and procedures and red tape. So they do want to help you, but it's just that there's some things that hold you up. But the second biggest district in San Antonio is buying my stuff. So even the big districts will do it. But you have to, like I said, you've got to be patient because I've been, it took me like 4 months to get started with them. So if you're in a hurry, then you've got to probably just pay out of pocket is the reality, right? But if you're coming to me well in advance of needing it, then you could be patient and they could pay. But yeah, but I hope you guys have a great night and definitely take advantage of all the stuff in that free manual that I showed you how to access. Oh, my pleasure, Maria, because I can promise you, like some of those free manual questions on the pedagogy, I saw those on my test, and you might too. You might not, but I mean, it's an easy way to get at least a couple questions right. It's just to memorize the ones from the free manual, right? So I guess I got to go because I've got more tutoring tonight for a different test. But thank you guys so much. I hope y'all have a great evening. Thanks. Bye.
you too.